I worked with him for 12 years. I look him in the eye, I have no idea what he's thinking. I'm Bob Gurr, legendary Disney Imagineer. I started out designing automobiles in Detroit. I was only there for about a year. I came back to California, and within a year or so, I got this call to go to the Disney studio. I met Walt on the second weekend that I brought my drawings in of this proposed body for the little Autopia car. And this little chassis was sitting out in the back lot. And as guys do who like cars, they put their foot on the tire and then they put their elbow on their knee and they cogitate about the car. We had a spare wheel available, and this older guy, kind of unshaven looking, walked up and now we got four guys talking about this little car. And when the conversation ended, he walked off and everybody said, "See ya, Walt." Was that Walt Disney? Because I didn't know what he looked like. I never met him. I just started working with him. Walt seemed to be very friendly because he was always walking around the studio a lot, walking around the buildings. And I think I had a picture in my mind that executives that are famous, they're up in some office. I never really saw him like that. I just saw him wandering around talking to people all the time. I think he alone knew in his own mind where he was going, but he was watching how the Imagineers would articulate it with their own ideas. And it's almost as if we're creating music, but he's got music written down, but he's changing it all the time depending on how each new idea works. And he's walking around every day to watch it proceed and adjust it on the fly. If you looked at something you're doing and he said nothing and just kept on walking, that was approval. If he stopped and had a conversation like, "Say, Bobby, did you ever think of," then he'd tell me what it was, and then my reaction would be, "Oh my gosh, I just missed that point." I wouldn't call that supervision. I would call that probing ever better ways to do things. Working on Disneyland for Walt, I was always amazed at all the different kinds of attractions that he sent people off to figure out and do, and I got to do my part. The thing was that this was not like the existing amusement parks that everyone was used to. This was going to be something really, really different and very, very exciting because it contained elements that I'd never seen in a park, and it was going to be a thrill to see it actually open and work. Something that is really, really dear to my heart. In fact, I have a little tattoo of it here. The first Disneyland monorail. There was something about that monorail visually that people could see that, oh, the future of transportation's coming. And it's a simple design geometrically, but it endures so strong with people. If you're going to tell a story or you're going to achieve something, you need to do all of it as best you possibly can, because it has to be truthful, it has to be honest, and it has to be something that gives people a joy in enjoying a story that Walt would do. The last big thing Walt wanted to do was sort of an experimental community of tomorrow. And the idea was he could provide the land and the infrastructure, and all the different creative companies could bring their new experimental ideas, and we would use these as development. This is a very, very noble idea, but at the same time, the logistics and the politics involved were very, very difficult to try to do. In January of '66, we flew to different companies like General Electric, Westinghouse, and Walt's trying to personally talk CEOs into what his idea is. And I'm sitting there watching these guys go, what? They couldn't understand what Walt was up to. The fact that Walt recognized this, that trying to do stuff that might be a little hard to do, you correct the course as you go to make sure it's going to work. You were left with so many great ideas of how people should work together, and when I get a chance to talk to people, I love to share those. You hire somebody because they can do a better job than you can at a specific task. And he values that so much that he never puts himself in a position to insult you over something that you did wrong. To have you not chopped by a curt comment meant you survived doing something that wasn't quite so hot, but you didn't get killed for it. Contrary side of that would be when somebody didn't like your idea and told you so in front of your peer group. Pretty soon, if you do that long enough in your company, you will have a lot of people that aren't creative. They're just quiet drones who enjoy the meetings and then wait for the next instructions, but not generate stuff on your own ideas. It's fatal to a company if you do it like that. Walt avoided that completely. Even as friendly as this, he still had a strong ego, but he didn't use it very much. A simple thing, a person would feel that, Walt, you don't give me enough credit on the movies. And Walt would just simply look at him and says, my name is on the door. And that would settle any dispute about Walt not being in charge. Watching Walt with Disneyland guests, you couldn't do it for too long, there'd be an awful lot of people around him, but he always had this great big smile. It's almost like, look, Ma, look what I did. It's my park, and if everybody's having fun. I think he had a very strong pride, because it just showed in his face, the way his eyebrows would go up. He always talked about how people would enjoy it. He was in love with his own park. He and his wife Lily would show up on a Saturday night, parked behind the firehouse, and they had a little apartment. He'd wake up in the morning and he'd pull the curtains back and he's watching the people come in. And the other employees said, oh, he's always smiling. And I thought, that makes great sense. This is his park. He's down there. He's living in this little apartment. And he's happy watching people come into his park. One of the characteristics that I saw in Walt was that he never did anything over, and everything he was going to do was something new. And that was a characteristic right from the earliest animations all the way up through the idea to build an amusement park. This is like saying, I make movies, I make television, and I'm going to make a 3D park full of live people. This was always a new venture and a new direction, new thoughts, never repeating anything. Just think, one guy and his ideas has just created this world of everything that's got a Disney name on it.